What's up, guys? This is SGC Revelation from the Naked Mafia. After talking to many frustrated pub players throughout the PUBG communities on Facebook, I decided to take some gameplay footage from the most recent PUBG update and upload it with some commentary on different ways that I think you can be a better PUBG player and chase those chicken dinners. Hopefully you'll enjoy what I've got in store for you guys as I discuss movement, shooting, attacking the final circle, and attacking more than one player when you're by yourself. The first thing we're going to address in this video is shooting on PUBG. There are 3 different ways you can shoot a gun. The first one you're seeing right now is first-person perspective, aiming down sights. I usually use this method when I'm about this far from my opponent, or if I'm inside and I think third person is too far out. The big thing you need to know about first-person perspective is that you can zoom in using the LB. You'll see a breath chart down by your health, and that allows you to see how much breath you have left. The big thing you want to remember is to always hit in your opponent's midsection up to their helmet as you fire. I always kind of compensate a little bit by pulling down on my right stick as my shot progresses. The next type of aiming we're going to talk about is third-person perspective. I usually save this for when I'm pretty close to my opponent and I feel like first person would be a little too slow. My sensitivities are a little bit slower in first person compared to third, so that I'm able to track moving opponents, as you'll see in some of the clips to come. When it comes to using third person for distance, I won't go much farther than this shot right here. Sometimes I will if it's an emergency situation, but most of the time I'm going to flip to first person if it gets much farther. Something really important to know about third person aiming is that anytime you move your body, the reticle spreads out, no matter where it seems to be. This is very different from a game like the Halo series, where you're able to strafe with no penalty. As you can see here, I put a whole lot of rounds on the guy, but I don't really kill him until I kind of settle my movement. And it almost costs us. Luckily, I was able to fix it. The last method of shooting I'm going to mention is firing from the hip. This is something you want to do when you're in close quarters with your opponent and you need to get a lot of rounds off fast. My big advice for this is keeping your reticle in the middle, making sure you're standing upright so your player can move very quickly in your strafe. Now we're going to talk about shooting at longer distances. My first piece of advice is as you move through your game of PUBG, you should be looking for a 4x scope and an assault rifle. These weapons are able to put out a lot of rounds fast and very accurate at very long distances. Using this chart, you can dissect the 5.56 4x scope. It has markings at 400 and 600 meters, along with a standard mark at the top. My biggest advice on shooting long distances, though, is to always just watch where your bullets drop and try to shoot your opponent in the midsection to the top of their head with their grouping. You can always throw 3 or 4 rounds out quickly and then reset in your aiming. The 4x scope looks a little bit different for the 7.62 weapons. As you can see, the markings are at 300 and 500 meters. Either way, get out and shoot as much as you can. I lastly wanted to give credit to Wacky Jackie 101 for the creation of this chart. It's been extremely helpful for myself in explaining to my teammates and others how to use the scopes on PUBG. My last piece of advice on sniping is just to take your time. Most of the time your opponent isn't exactly going to know where you are. If you see them peeking at you, you need to feel a little more of an urgency, but you always need to take the time to make sure that your first shot is placed really well. It's also worth mentioning that anytime you crouch or go prone, your ability to control your cursor goes way up. In this section of the video, I want to talk a little bit about leaning. There's a really good video on YouTube out there from a guy who created it on PC talking about the different ways that you expose your body when leaning in PUBG. Anytime you can, you always want to be leaning to the right. If you're leaning to the right, you're exposing less parts of your body. Anytime you're leaning to the left, you're showing more of your body. This is due to all the players on PUBG being right-handed. Here's a great example of a right peek versus a left peek. In this fight, I want you guys to really pay attention to the different ways that I use edge peeking and edge leaning to defeat my opponents. A lot of people will say that this is only something that can be done in third person perspective, but you can lean all the same in first person. The best asset you have in your arsenal to make sure that you win these chicken dinners is to always be a good teammate. When you land, always land in pairs so that you have an opportunity to back a teammate up in case they get rushed. Essentially, being a good teammate is the difference between having the numbers at the end to win the game or trying to pull it off by yourself. After making the mistake of peeking, I know that I'm going to have to take the opportunity to recover here. I tried to go to the back of the building to do so, and luckily I escaped the grenade. Knowing my health is lower, I'm going to make my opponent move here, and I'm going to stay in cover with the hip fire. In every game of PUBG, you're going to face tough moments. Right now, I'm getting all the information I can from my teammate on where the opponents are. As I see him run out into the smoke, we both decide that it's probably a good chance to kill both of them with a grenade. Although I'm able to finish his down, I almost lose my teammate here because I'm not prepared for the rush, and I instead go for the revive. I was kind of hoping that I would just happen to get the kill, but luckily it didn't cost us here, as I was able to get the last second revive off. You always want your teammate to be still when you're trying to go for the revive. Moving on, I want to talk about attacking more than one person at a time. My biggest regret in this clip is that I probably didn't push to the right. As you can see here in a moment, the field opens up and there's a few high points that I probably could have used to better attack my opponents. Instead, I chose the left. Even though I pulled this off, I think I could have probably played this out a little bit better. As you've seen in some of the clips, anytime I'm attacking more than one person, I want to hold the high ground or an advantage spot where I can keep myself covered. As I drop down to pursue this kill, I do that by aligning with the Jeep here, where I'm able to cover myself from multiple sides. Sadly, my teammate who pushes up to help me gets open in the field, and it cost him his life. As I just mentioned, cover is always your best friend in a game of PUBG. I'm able to run down here in a moment and use the hay bales to hopefully get my friend up. As he calls out their rushing, I know that I'm not going to have the opportunity to finish it. Luckily, I was able to use cover and dominate the way that my opponents engage me. First, fighting one-on-one with my right side covered, and then taking care of business from third person here with a lot of good grouping in the chest. As you'll see in these accelerated clips, anytime that you can protect your downed opponent, it's very vital for the success of your team. As you can see in this clip, movement's extremely important, and making sure that you're not really grouped as the whole squad. I'm really surprised these guys didn't use the roof of their exit to attack us when we had a man down. Luckily, we were able to surround them and take all three out pretty quickly. Here's another great example of moving as a team. Although my aim wasn't really great, thanks to my movement, we were able to work together to take care of both of them, even though this was some serious potato aim. Anytime you run into a vehicle in PUBG, you have a few options in attacking it. You can always just shoot the vehicle for general damage, especially if you see it smoking. That's not the turbo boost. My best advice though, if it's an open vehicle, to shoot from chest to head level up. If you don't think you can hit the vehicle that much, another good option is to shoot into the tires. My biggest piece of advice, though, is to not waste too many shots attacking a vehicle. You don't want to be standing there with an empty clip if 2 to 3 guys can get out. I wanted to add this clip into this video to talk about being a conservative PUBG player. Although I had the opportunity here to get 2 kills with my Car 98, it come at an expensive price. As you can hear in the video, a bike begins to approach to the area as I'm finishing off the second player. A teammate and one of his allies gets out, and although I managed to get one of them, I end up getting killed by his 3 other teammates in a revenge party. Had I just not taken the shots to begin with and been a little more conservative, I probably could have got with my teammate who happened to have a sniper suppressor on him anyways. It's really important in PUBG to always stay close to your team. The last thing we're going to talk about in this video is how we approach the final circle. Once you and your squad have landed and have hopefully taken care of everyone in the area, it's time to move. We usually use one of 2 approaches in this. The first one is what we call Blue Zone Warrior, where you stay at the outside edge of the circle and slowly make your way in as the game forces you to do so. Although this method is effective, sometimes it leaves you in a position in the final circle where you don't have the best cover and you have no other option to move. This leads us to option number 2. A lot of times, we always try to get to the center of the circle and find structure. If we have structure, we usually tend to survive longer, and we're able to pick each other up if we're able to get down without being shot from our enemy. No matter what you decide, you always want to make a decision as a team. If your team's not working together cooperatively, and everyone's not executing the same plan, your hopes for winning are slim to none. I appreciate you guys watching if you made it to this point in the video. If you ever want to play with us, hit me up at SGC_Revelation on Xbox. Or if you have any other ideas for future videos, respond to any of the posts in the Facebook community, or make sure you search us up at the Naked Mafia on Facebook.